Hello, I'm the Original Cartographer, and this is Project Zomboid. I'm covering this as the second video in my series on other great games. Project Zomboid is an isometric zombie apocalypse survival game published and developed by the Indie Stone. Despite being in early access, it has some incredibly deep gameplay and has more tools for customizing your experience than I've ever seen in any other game. I've been playing this for a few years, racking up over 350 hours in that time. I picked it up on Steam where it can be found for $15, and I would say that's well worth the price. One last thing to say before we look at the game is that I'm playing the beta version. The beta version is significantly ahead of the stable version, so I'd recommend it. Let's check out my most recent save and I'll show you what things are like in that sandbox version of the world. Alright, so here I am in my house here. Now I'm currently washing my clothes. That's why my guy's standing around in his underwear and socks with a bulletproof vest on, holding a gun. I'm going to drop the gun over here in my weapons pile. Let's go actually. Did I drop the gun? No, I dropped a different gun. Where is the gun? There's the gun I'm holding. Okay. Also, this hammer's broken. Let me go take care of that real quick. I've got piles for everything. It's the zombie apocalypse. You don't throw anything away. You keep things just in case you find the right stuff to repair them. So, this is my house. It's not actually this character's house. I found this house, killed the zombies around it, and made it my own. It has electricity. As you can see, I can turn the lights off and on. I can come over here and turn on the television. Let's see, device options, turn the television on. But it's been a few weeks since the apocalypse managed to spread outside of Knox Country, and as such, all the channels are gone. Before the channels were gone, I could have picked up things on things like Life and Living Television here, where I could have learned how to be a better carpenter. Just take a quick look at the skills here. And you can see that carpentry is one of the crafting skills. Along with that, there's cooking, farming, first aid, electrical, metalworking, mechanics, and tailoring. All these things have their own uses. Cooking, for example. Let's go take a look at the kitchen. Let me close these. There we go. If we come over here to the refrigerator, you can see all the things I've got stored in there. Now, not a terribly wide variety of actual food at the moment. Mostly it's like condiments and things like that, which means I need to do a run to other houses for more food. But I do still have some food in the freezer in terms of ice cream and peas, so I guess I can eat that. And then along with that, I'm collecting canned food here, so that when all the food starts to rot away and there's nothing left, I'll still have plenty of canned food. Now along with that, we just to show you some of the depth here, we can look at the stove here, and let's see, where is it? There we go. It currently has a cooking pot with water in it, or on it. I'm not sure really which way you look at it like this, but if I turn this on, you'll watch as the cooking pot will start turning red here. And what that means is that it's heating up, and let me see here if I can't clean this bandage first, the sturdy bandage that's in my inventory. Ooh, I just apparently pulled that out of the oven. Let me put that back in the oven. And now I can disinfect the bandage by boiling that bandage. And now I have a sterilized bandage. Let me turn that off. But let's just take a look at the sink here to show you some of the other depth here. You can wash yourself. You actually get dirty. You got to clean yourself. You got to clean the things you're wearing. If you don't have any soap, it takes longer to clean these things. Along with that, you can drink. You can fill up containers. Unfortunately, I can't show you that right now because my containers are full. These water bottles here, they're full. But along with that, yeah, I mean, that's mostly what you can do with the sink there, but let's see. You can tell I've got all kinds of kitchen-related stuff that's stored in all these cabinets. I also, I take everything, so I've even got 360 cigarettes, even though my character's not a smoker. But if your character is a smoker, then you need to keep smoking, or you gotta give it up and just deal with the withdrawal. But if we come in here, we can see that I've just washed all my clothes here in the washer. I can toss them in the dryer. And I know, this is a zombie survival game and you haven't seen anything, even zombie related just yet. But don't worry, you're going to see that stuff soon. Let me actually turn this on. Now that stuff's going through the dryer. But let's head over here. Bathroom, where you can wash yourself in the tub. You can wash yourself in the toilet too. I use this trash can over here to store actual junk. I need to get that empty bottle out at some point and use it. And the socks as well. There's nothing wrong with those socks. But if we come in here, there's a garage. And I've got all kinds of hardware supplies in here. There's an incredible depth to the crafting system in this game. I had to replace the garage door when a bunch of zombies knocked it in. But you can see I've got all these sticks and rocks that I've gotten through cutting down trees, and also the rocks come from foraging and stuff like that. I've got car parts over here because who knows when I might need to actually repair some car, and I've got these parts. I got charcoal briquettes over here in the corner. I've got a bag of plaster so that I can eventually plaster some walls. I had to pull the door off this this closet in order to repair the front and rear door when those got smashed in by zombies. Coming back here into the master bedroom, I've got endless piles of clothes. I've got a big pile of jewelry, and that's because I strip all the clothes and jewelry and everything off of every zombie I kill. And that's because the world is ended. There's no more factories producing anything. Any clothing that there is, that's the last of the clothing that's ever going to be made. So I need that clothing to wear it, or I need it to tear it up to make bandages, or I need to tear it up to make walls. Like if we take a look at that garage door wall, that's made out of torn up zombie clothes and cut down trees. Okay, so while we're waiting for those clothes to finish drying, let's head out into the backyard, which I feel perfectly safe in because I've walled in my yard completely. You can also see that I've got these rain barrels here where I can collect the water, but then it's not safe for drinking because it's been tainted with bacteria or algae or things like that. But I can boil it and I can drink it. For the moment, I still have electricity, so I could boil it and I could use it with a stove. But eventually I'll have to build a campfire or get an antique wooden stove to boil that kind of stuff. But in the meantime, let's take a look around here. We got all these potato crops growing here. I've laid this thing out so I can actually have a nice thick wall surrounding the entirety of the house. Right now, it's I'm sectioning it off into different areas so that if the zombies take one section of the yard, they don't take the entire thing. But then we got the compost thing right here with these poisonous berries in it, which make good compost. You just don't want to eat them. Coming around out of here, you can see the larger area. A lot of the trees have been cut back because I've used them to build this wall surrounding the entirety of the house. I've got this little gated area kind of thing here, which eventually will have doors in it once I have the expertise to build more and better doors. But that also blocks the light or anybody seeing me coming in and out of the house while still allowing me to get out. Each one of these rectangular areas is a grave. Each one stores 5 bodies. So that right there is just 35 bodies, but that is nowhere near the total number of zombies that I've killed. This is actually my second character in the world, and I'll show you the grave of the first character. Let's talk about meta events real quick. Meta events are, you can sometimes hear people screaming in the distance, dogs barking, gunshots, things like that. But there's one meta event that is absolutely just terrifying, and that's the helicopter event. And so what happens is a helicopter will basically find you and follow you around for a few hours in the course of a single day. Or if you set the event differently, you can have it follow you multiple days. Here's the grave of my previous survivor here. I should probably head back until I get some actual clothes. More graves up there though, at the just up to the left. What was I going to say here? Oh yeah, so the helicopter event, the helicopter follows you around for a few hours. The amount of sound that helicopter creates means that you've got zombies chasing you all day long. That's how I ended up losing the front and rear door to this house and a few windows, because before that they'd all been barricaded up. I heard the helicopter. I thought if I just turn off the lights, sitting here as quietly as possible, they're going to leave me alone. So I was just sitting here on the living room floor reading books, and suddenly I hear banging on the barricaded windows outside. So just grab a bunch of guns, run outside. The unfortunate thing is guns make a lot of noise, so I don't typically use them. But because I don't typically use them, I have no quality skills with aiming and shooting a gun. So I hit nothing with my pistols. I hit a couple of guys with a shotgun, but that was it. Ran all day, shoes fell apart, meaning I was getting bloodied feet. Finally found a new pair of shoes, put those on, kept running. Finally made it nearly back home, was eaten by zombies. This guy, made this character, fought the remaining zombies that were in the neighboring house that you saw over there, and then fought the zombies that were in this house, repaired all the doors, just wiped all the blood off the walls, which that's the level of depth in this as well, as you can actually wash the blood off the walls with bleach and towels. And I headed back. I was like, oh, okay, so throw my clothes in the washer, head over here to take a bath, and I didn't realize that in fact the window here had been broken in, and there was broken glass all over the floor, and I got deep wounds in both feet, lost about half my blood, and had to wear bandages on my feet for like the next 3 days while I barely could move around the house. So I was very nearly killed the second time just by broken glass. If we come out here in the front, we can see that I've basically taken the front walk, floored it, walled it in on both sides. It does not have a roof yet. I eventually do plan to add a roof to that, so it'll be like an actual additional room on the house. But why don't we just go grab those clothes? I'm sure they're dry enough by now, so we can take a look further out. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, they're still wet, but that's fine. Let me turn it off and wear all these. I'll be a little wet, but that's not the end of the world. You can see my shoes are pretty worn, so they're not going to last much longer, but I'll wear them until they basically just fall apart. Okay. So I'm wearing a leather jacket because that provides me excellent protection against bites and scratches. Same reason I'm wearing jeans. Same reason that I'm always making sure I wear shoes. I lost my helmet on the most recent outing. I lost my motorcycle helmet during the helicopter event. Just to point out some more graves. We got some more. Let me put this back on health. Oh, I gotta change that bandage on my hand. That's another thing I could show off. It's the first aid system. Now I've got a cut on that hand, but so long as I keep putting sterilized bandages on it, I should be fine. My guy's a little hungry, but he'll be fine for the moment. So now, yeah, as you can see in my inventory, I have a dirty rag, but I can clean that, boil it again, it'll be good to go. Now let's head up the road here, and I'll run a little bit. Now running typically is not something you want to do unless you're being chased, because it makes more noise, and it draws more zombies in if they're nearby. Let's talk a little bit about how the world is customized in this case. Now in this case, well, in most cases, and you can see I've got a little hot at the top right there because I'm wearing a leather jacket running. But in most cases in the game, you get bitten, you're infected. No matter what, you're going to be infected and you're going to die and be reanimated. Scratches are something like to a 30 to 40% chance of dying and being reanimated. In my case, in my headcanon for this world, I've made it so that the disease was something like more like a flu. So everybody ended up getting it. And the people who were immune to it, and this guy's immune to it. So everybody else died, was reanimated, came back as a zombie, but he's fine. He's never going to get the infection because he's immune. So that does not mean that I'm not safe. That I'm still safe, as I already told you. I already died twice, and you can see these 4 guys hanging out over here. So I've chosen to make my zombies fairly weak. And I also have made it so they don't respawn. But that's just because that's the way I've chosen to view the zombies in this world. You can have the zombies be sprinters. We're going to go through the full depth of the customization process here in just a moment. But you can see I'm fighting these guys with my bare hands. But you can fight them with weapons too if you have them. Unfortunately, this guy just, again, broke his hammer. And I don't want to use the other hammer that I have because I need to save that hammer for actual construction. But as you can see here, we can look at these people's stuff and we can take it if we need it. And in fact, I am always going to keep taking their stuff because, again, it's the end of the world. No one's making anything new. But just to also show you the level of depth, if you look at the top right corner, you can see that I can see the time and the temperature and the date. Now that's because I'm currently wearing a digital watch, but let's say that I grab this this watch right here. And let me toss my, where is it? Black digital watch. Let me drop it for the moment. You can see I can only see the time. If I don't even have this watch, which again is right there, I can't see the time at all. So you actually have to have a watch in order to see what time it is and everything like that. That's not something that's just integrated in the game. Your character has to have a watch in order to be able to see it. Let's go over a few other things before we go into the customization process. So if we take a look at the top left corner again, instead of health, we'll take a look at fitness. This is a recently added part of the game where you can do squats, push-ups, sit-ups, and burpees. And if you have the equipment, barbell curls, dumbbell curls, and bicep curls. These things all increase your strength, make you much better at fighting zombies. Along with that, you can go into protection, and you can see that I'm very well protected in the torso and the legs, upper legs at least. I'm not terribly well protected in the feet because all I'm wearing right now are sneakers, and those things are starting to fall apart. And I'm not protected at all in the head because I dropped my helmet. Well, there's my helmet right there. Let me go grab it. It's on the ground. There we go. Hard hat. Wear that. Okay, and you can see I'm now well protected in the head. We got a couple zombies wandering up out of the woods here. Let's take care of them real quick. And as you start getting multiples on you, you might have to start to run a little bit. In fact, I should probably start running now, but we'll see. There we go. You can see how degraded that guy's coat was, because I already had a hole in the back of it. Jeez, I might have just gotten scratched. We'll see. Scratched or bitten. Again, bites still hurt me. They can't infect me, but I very nearly lost my first character in this game because he was bitten twice and nearly bled out. He spent like a week sitting on the floor of his living room just trying not to die. You can also see that that guy has a knife in his back. Oop. Uh-oh. See, they just knocked off my helmet. There we go. This combat system here is new to the beta section. Well, I don't think it's actually new to the beta, but it's not in the main part of the game. There is combat, but it just doesn't work the same way. So let me equip this helmet. Actually didn't put it on, it doesn't seem. But you can hear the buzzing. Oh my gosh. Put on the helmet. There we go. Okay. You can hear that buzzing sound. That's because there are too many corpses in the area. And too many corpses mean you can potentially get an infection. That's why you gotta bury bodies. Right here, there's a truck. There are vehicles in the game. Unfortunately, I have yet to find a key with a vehicle. So just for the moment, I can't use any of these vehicles, but let's see. Why don't I see if I can't enter this vehicle. And let's take a look at the car itself here. And you can actually check things like the glove box. And you can see that in the glove box here I got a battery, newspaper, and a walkie-talkie. But I can't start the car because I don't have a key for it. So I'll get out of that. But yeah, so vehicles are very useful, again, if you can actually use them. More zombies over there. I'm going to leave them alone for the moment. Let's see, what else should I talk about before we move on? You saw the farm where I was growing potatoes. You saw the protection. Temperature. We covered this a little bit when I was running and sweating while wearing a leather coat. You can see skin temperature, body response, in terms of fighting cold, fighting heat, or normal. And then we can do even an advanced view here, where we can see the skin temperature, blood vessels, in terms of vasoconstriction and vasodilation, shivering or perspiration. In my case, I'm on the normal side, maybe a little bit close to sweating. Body wetness. I am just soaked underneath my leather jacket and bulletproof vest. I'm doing stupid stuff here. I should be fighting these guys one at a time, two at a time the most. Unless you have a weapon, it's just stupid to fight them this many at a time. So the way you kind of fight them is get it to where you've got just one of them that's actually doing this active chasing thing. Then knock them down, take them out. Again, do the same thing, rinse and repeat. Oh, messed up there. But hey, this one's still chasing me. Run a little bit further. And knock them down. Stomp them. Zombies by themselves can be fairly weak and easy to kill, so long as you know what you're doing. Uh-oh. I think I hear another one somewhere. Maybe that's just this one. It sounds weird. Okay, well, so going back up to the temperature area, we can also have clothing wetness. Most of my clothing's dry, so that's good. Insulation, looks like I'm very insulated in the pants area. And in the chest, wind resistance. I have almost no wind resistance in my hands, but everything else seems to be okay. Anyway, though, let's see if there's anything else we need to talk about. So yeah, this is just the general information. You can see that this character's cheating just a little bit. We'll go into that in the customization area. But along with that, you can see that I've killed down at the bottom left 326 people over the course of 12 days and 3 hours, with my favorite weapon being my bare hands. Let's see, skills, we've gone over that to a certain extent, but along with the crafting skills, there are also firearm skills, survival skills. This guy's done some foraging, but not much in the way of trapping or fishing, but he's read some books on that stuff, so if I do that kind of stuff, I'll get a better amount of experience out of it. Along with that, in combat, he's done a lot of work with short blunt, so we're talking hammers, but not long blunt, so in that case we're talking crowbars. Not long blades, short blades, or spears, nothing with axes. I've cut down trees, but I've not used axes in combat. And then along with that, I've done some basic maintenance work on things, fixing things with tape, glue, and stuff like that. And then at the very top, there's, not the very top, that's the fitness and strength, but the one right below that, agility, we've got sprinting, light foot, nimble, and sneaking. Sneaking, you can press C and you can start to sneak like this. You're less likely to be seen by them. You can sneak around them a little bit easier. Sprinting, just running like that. Let's see, what else? I think we've gone over a lot of stuff here. We haven't really talked about cooking, so I'll go back in the house real quick and we can talk about that just real quick. The crafting system in this game is incredibly in-depth. I'll pull up the little crafting section here. And you can see that in the cooking area, we can butcher birds, rabbits, small animals. We can make pasta, rice, stew, beans, cereal, oatmeal. So like oatmeal, we need an empty bowl and a can of oats. Now, I typically don't really want to go into my my stash of goods here, just because I want to wait until I run out of fresh food. But just to show you how this thing works, I will then grab a bowl here. Let me see, there we go. Grab an empty bowl. And using the crafting system here, we will now make a bowl of oats. Where was that? Was it further up? Or is it, okay, because I now actually have stuff. Let me make the bowl of oatmeal. Okay. Now if I check my inventory, I've got a fresh bowl of oatmeal, so I can now eat that. And I'll eat half of that. Took away my hunger. I can now store the remainder in the refrigerator. Keep it fresh. You can see that I'm pretty moist from sweat, which is gross, but it's not better than blood, which is what I typically am drenched in. Okay, so I think that's enough for this character. Ooh, it looks like I've actually lost some health on my bulletproof vest, which is unfortunate. You can see through it. You can see down to my jacket. But there's no NPCs in the game yet. They haven't added them just yet. The development team on this game is a great team. They're constantly adding to the game. They had NPCs at one point, I believe, but they pulled them out because they weren't right. But again, they're constantly launching new patches for this game. It's a great team of people. But anyway, let's go and create a new character so you can see the level of customization in the game. Alright, so multiplayer is disabled for the beta, but you can play it in the regular game. But we can go in here, and actually, I keep seeing something about like couch co-op or something, but it seems to be something with Steam. Anyway, I don't know. I haven't played multiplayer much. Let's just go into the, I think people have made, okay, real quick, people have made mods for the game, a lot of them. I've used them in the past. Currently, I'm just playing the game vanilla. Hydrocraft is the one that I've used in the past. It just has a whole bunch of crafting recipes and stuff. But let's go into the solo game here. Now, there are multiple playstyles, but the one I always go with is the custom sandbox. The typical playstyle is where you can get, when you get bitten, you're dead. You know, that kind of thing. But let's just go to the custom sandbox and let's take a look at it. Alright, so we got Muldraugh, Riverside, Rosewood, and West Point, Kentucky. Now, they've made all these cities are on the same map. And there's somebody who's made a map online. I don't know if it's the developers or not. But you can find it just by searching Google Project Zomboid map. And let me pull that map up now. Alright, so this is the house that that character was in. It's in the town of Rosewood, which is this whole thing. Yeah, the map of this place is huge, though. Again, so let's zoom all the way out. And that's how big this thing is. Again, we were in Rosewood right down here. But along with Rosewood, there's a town over here. there's a town all the way over here, and then there's a town that's also all the way up here. Each of these towns has their own layout and their own different structures inside of them. But even beyond that, there's other areas like this golf course right here. Along with that, you can see all these houses that are like little farmhouses along the side of the river there. We can come up here and we can see that there are cabins in the woods. There's even a little tiny cabin right there. If we come up this way, we got another little area up here. Looks like a little gas station, rest stop sort of a thing. And a few homes. We come all the way over, well, yeah, there's even more farms and homes and things like that throughout this area. And this is a little town here that's not actually a place you can start, but again, it's out near all these farms. If we come back out to Rosewood, Rosewood also has this large prison. And so you can take this place over, but there are so many, so many zombies in this place. Typically, the way I've taken this twice before, and it took a long time both times, and it was actually like multiple days that I was doing it until the point where I was just like, I want to play a different game at this point. But if you want to come in and try to take it, you take the visitors center first before moving on to the main part of the prison, just to have this as being your little base of operations, because it has cots and stuff inside of it, so you can use that as a base. But zooming out, there's also up here this like secret military base that you can go to. Along with that, if we come down here, there's like this other little planned community thing. And then, I mean, yeah, and at the far end of the map over here, we have a mall, and there's also an airstrip over here. So just again, this map is enormous. You can travel the entire length of it. It's based on a real location in the real world. So just something to pay attention to. This right here. This whole line here that runs this entire area like this. Zooming out, you can see the shape of that right there. You can see the town of Muldraugh right there, and the town of West Point right there. Now, if we look at the real world map, you can see the town of Muldraugh right there, town of West Point right there, and that whole line running through there. This is right near Fort Knox in Kentucky. But anyway, let's get back into the actual game itself. Okay, so yeah, like I said, Muldraugh and West Point were both on that map. Rosewood is typically where I go because it has that prison nearby, but it's not really. Didn't even go for that this last time. But let's just pick a city here. Let's go with West Point. Okay, and now we get to the sandbox options, and again, this is ridiculously in-depth stuff. So, very simple stuff here at the very beginning. We're gonna make the zombie count insane, just so you can see what that's like. Zombie distribution, we'll leave it urban focused rather than uniform. Fairly self-explanatory stuff there. Day length, you can make it so that a full 24-hour day in game lasts 1 hour in real life. It can go anywhere from 15 minutes in the real life all the way to real time. 24-hour day in game is 24 hours in real life. I'll just leave it at 1 hour here. We'll make the start month sometime in winter so we can see the world in winter. Let's choose December there. Then we can do the start day. In fact, let's make it so that it is the start of winter, which 21st or 22nd. Let's go with 22nd, regardless of whether or not that's the first or second day of winter. And then we'll go to the world here. Water and electricity do shut off in the game no matter what. But you can pick a range of times for them to shut off. In my game, I typically leave it for the longer periods of time, but even then, when you say 0 to 5 years, it could be 5 years, but it could be that it almost immediately shuts off. I'll just leave it at the 0 to 30 days for now, because I'm just going to show you the customization options here. So the way I typically do this is I typically have it so the electrical shut-off is for a longer period of time, and I do the same thing with water, just because I figured the electricity, I just say that there's like a nuclear plant out there somewhere still just pumping out juice for the next few years, until maybe there's some sort of automatic shutdown that turns the thing off. Water shut off, I also make long because I figure so long as there's electricity and there's not pipes getting broken, there's going to be water. And even then, once the power goes off, there's still going to be the water that's inside the water towers that will be coming out for still a little while longer after that. House alarm frequency, this game is set in the 90s, so you don't have easy to install systems. There were house alarms, obviously, but I typically leave this as sometimes you can do from never to very often. Sometimes I'll leave in there. Locked house frequency. This is Kentucky in the early 90s. My guess would be that houses would actually probably be sometimes locked, not all the time. Food spoilage, you can do very fast to very slow. Same thing with refrigeration effectiveness. Well, not very fast to very slow, but very low effectiveness to very high effectiveness, so the food will stay better in the fridge for longer. You can decide whether or not the rotten food gets removed. I mean, there are so many options here. Months since the apocalypse, let's just say for this case, I'm gonna move this up to like 6 months since the apocalypse, okay? And you'll see exactly how the world is affected by that. Darkness at night, normal, up to pitch black or bright. We're gonna leave it at normal. Nature. I'm going to set it to cold. Okay. Rain, just going to leave that as normal. Erosion speed, we'll get into this more when we get into the world, but just know that the world changes over time because there's no one performing any continual maintenance on things. But yeah, we got farming speed, plant resistance. Plants that you're farming can get diseases. Along with that, they can lose water. Well, they will lose water. Then, I mean, the rest of this stuff's fairly self-explanatory. The fog intensity. Fog was something that was added not too long ago, and it is incredibly intense when you're walking around in the fog and have a zombie just suddenly appear out of the fog right in front of you. But let's keep it going here. Sadistic AI director. Now, I told you about the helicopter event. Again, you can set this to to never happen or to often happen. I typically leave it at once, just because it is an interesting thing to happen, even if it is awful when it happens. Meta events, that's again the dogs barking, gunshots, people screaming. I just leave that on. Sleeping event, I never turn on because it means a zombie appears in your house, in your room, right next to your bed, regardless of if you have the wall, like everything boarded up. No. Meta events here. Not meta events, but meta options here. Generator spawns. How fast those generators consume fuel, stuff like that. When the corpses will get removed just because they've been rotting away, and whether or not when you're near decaying bodies, whether or not they're going to affect your health. I'll leave that kind of stuff on. Loot rarity, I do typically actually mess with this one because, again, I go with the headcanon of it being something like a flu sort of a thing that comes on really fast. I figure that most food and stuff is still around. Melee weapons, most melee weapons are household objects. So we're talking about hammers, bats, boards, things like that. So I actually say those are fairly common. Ranged weapons, I'll say, are normal, especially because we're talking Kentucky. There are quite a few gun owners in Kentucky. We'll also move the ammo up to normal. Obviously, for survival game reasons, you would want to drop that kind of thing just because if you're not going for more realism, but if you're going for a more difficult experience, you drop that sort of thing. Medical stuff, I think rare would actually be fairly common because, again, people would be getting sick. They'd be trying to help themselves. Survival gear, again, it's like Kentucky's a somewhat rural state. I think you'd have some fairly common survival gear being found there. Mechanics, we're talking about mechanical gear for cars. I'm going to leave that at rare. Although, no, you know what? Let's leave that at normal. Literature, so books, magazines, newspapers. Also put that at normal. And then other, I'll just put it normal as well. Going into the character, so you can have an XP multiplier. I'm just going to leave it at 1. Stats decrease based on your how hungry, thirsty, tired you are. I'm going to leave that at normal. Endurance regeneration, just leave that as normal. Nutrition, whether or not you're going to get fat or thin based on the calorie content of foods, leave that on. Free trait points, we'll get into that in a minute. Player built construction, all the rest of this stuff is fairly self-explanatory sort of things. Going into the vehicles, again, I didn't have a vehicle I could drive in that last one. I'm going to say that recent survivors vehicles means that you find cars that have like survivors stuff inside of them. I'm going to leave that. Car spawn rate I'm going to have as normal. Chance that it has gas, normal. Initial gas, normal. And then gas consumption I'm going to leave alone. Car alarms I think have become more common, but they were very rare back in the early 90s. So I'm going to leave that as extremely rare. Let's see, zombie lore. This is when you get into some of the really interesting stuff. Now, their proper zombies are fast shamblers with normal strength, toughness that transmit via blood and saliva. And you got all this other stuff here. But the way I explained the last one, I set it to shamblers. You can also set it to sprinters. I'm going to leave it at fast shamblers so you can see what that's like. Strength, you can go anywhere from weak to superhuman. I'm going to leave that at normal. Transmission is the only thing I'm really going to get into here, and also reanimation time and stuff like that. So, again, because I've got mine as being like a flu-like illness that I'm immune to, I'm going to say no transmission, my guy's immune. Infection mortality, never. Reanimation time, doesn't matter. No one's going to be reanimated. Cognition, you can go from basic navigation to them being able to use doors. Kind of terrifying to consider. Memory, short to long. Basically, if they see you and they start chasing you, it determines how long they're going to keep looking for you. Decomposition, whether or not they slow or weaken over time, or both. Then along with that, sight, hearing, and smell, to where they can be very, very bad or very good. I'm going to leave that as normal. Environmental attacks, this determines whether or not they're going to attack a house if they walk into it. But if you leave this off, if they walk into a house, they're just going to leave it alone. If you have this on, then if they walk up to a house, they're going to start breaking their way in, regardless of whether or not they hear somebody inside. Damage construction, this means they can damage your own stuff. I'm going to leave that on. Day or not active. Night, we're talking like I Am Legend zombies or whatever, and actually most zombies, I think. In fact, I don't know of any zombies in any lore that have been more active in the day, but I could be wrong in that. Whether or not zombies can trigger house alarms, I'm going to say yes. Because if they've broken through a window, if that house has an alarm, they're going to trigger the alarm. Let's go into advanced zombie options here. Population multiplier, that's based on the original population count of insane, so we're going to leave that there. Now again, typically I disable respawning, and I also make sure that loot doesn't respawn. I think that was right up here. No, where is that? There we go. Loot respawn. You can have it respawn every day, up to every 2 months, or not at all. I'm going to leave it as not at all. And then we can go with to where they form groups of certain sizes. Let's up that to like 40. And then how far they'll travel to join a group and things like that. And I'll up that to 5 right there. There we go. Alright, so next. Now this gets into the character customization stuff here. So we could say that they're unemployed. And you can see down in the major skills they got average fitness and strength. Now if we go to Fire Officer, you can see that they have axe skills and sprinting skills, and they're a little bit stronger and a little bit more fit. Now, the other thing to notice is down near the next button down here, you can see points to spend are 0 for the Fire Officer, whereas for the unemployed person, they still have 8 points to spend. What do you spend those points on? These traits here in the middle. So you can get good traits, or you can get bad traits. And so the bad traits, if I added claustrophobic, you can see that I then have 12 points to spend because I took on a bad trait. Whereas if I come down here to the bottom and I say that I'm very strong, look at that. I'm much stronger, but I've only got 2 points left to spend. So, along with that, there's things like, let me remove these actually. And we can look at like the police officer already starts out with a negative point balance here, so you've got to take on a bad one. So if you wanted to, you could take on like conspicuous or something like that, so zombies see you more easily. The worst ones are being deaf, being weak, very underweight, obese, or unfit. And then thin-skinned is the closest next thing out. Illiterate. Wow, that's a bad one. But yeah, you can see how you've got these. Basically, these are balanced, good traits and bad traits. So I'm just going to go with the Fire Officer, and we'll just move ahead with that. But again, the points to spend, we can also mess with that. If we go back here and we go to the character, we can give you, let's say, 8 free points, something like that. You can go all the way up to like a couple hundred if you really want to do that. And you saw my other character, I gave myself something like 30 or something like that. But let's just go ahead and take on, how about the thick-skinned trait here. Okay, and then we will move ahead. Now we get to the character customization, and so you end up with kind of random characters here, and I can even click random here, and it'll go through and keep creating random firefighters, right? Now this person is Fern Westbrook, and you can change the skin color, the hair type, the hair color. You can see what they look like when they're idle, walking, or running. You can then also give them a hat, reading glasses or glasses, give them a vest, formal shirt. And again, I typically give them all the clothing I can because all this clothing is going to keep them from getting scratches. But let's move forward and just see what the world's like. Now it gives you basically the game's mantra here of these are the end times. There was no hope of survival. This is how you died. Alright. So this person starts out in this house here. So I'm going to crouch down and close all the blinds I can. All the curtains, I mean. Uh-oh. I just heard oh, no. This house apparently had an alarm. Oh, my. Let's just start moving. Just go. Just go. Oh, my. Actually, I don't think it was this house. I think it might have been the neighboring house. I don't know. But, okay. So, and it's the middle of... Oh, my. It's the middle of winter out here. Oh, crap. Holy Moses. Talk about a rough start. Let's check the health here. Somehow I managed not to get killed just then. Holy... Oh, my God. Oh, wow. I'm gonna close that. So again, this is with an insane zombie count. Oh. This game could be absolutely terrifying. Okay, let's just keep on moving. And look, you can see all these zombies coming in from all around to go check out that house alarm. Oh my, they're still all behind me. You can try to lose them by going around corners and stuff like that, but I've still got these guys after me over here now. Oh my gosh. They're coming from so far away to go check out that house alarm. Oh. Okay, let's try going through this school here. And I just yelled for some reason. Crap. Oh my God. There's so many. Go, 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 go. There are so many zombies. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I wasn't even able to show you what you do to typically start out survival. I was going to close all the curtains and basically just start to secure the perimeter of the house. Make sure that if you've got sheets, you put them up on the windows where you don't have curtains. Make sure nobody can see you inside the house. Keep quiet as possible. But, I mean, that's just not going to happen this time. Okay. Well, I think I've given you a fairly good view of what the game has in store for you. But, anyway. Again, a great game. Got it on Steam for about 15 bucks. Great developers. Definitely highly recommend it. And one last thing to show you is erosion. You can see how there are vines crawling up the sides of houses. That's because it's been 6 months since the apocalypse. If we were to check fridges, no food in any of the fridges. It all has rotten away by this point. Or rotted away by this point, I should say. But yeah, again, a great game. Definitely highly recommend it. This has been the Original Cartographer. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time.